Well, it's Eric Crawford here from Memorial Gymnasium at Vanderbilt University, where Vanderbilt has just beaten Kentucky 74 to 69. I'll have a few thoughts here on the game. I did a stand up for television just now. We'll do this rapid reaction piece and what's going to be the difference between those two pieces. Well, one of them's a lot shorter, and for this one, I get to get rid of the tie. See, it's gone. So that's it. That's the only difference. But we'll just talk a little bit less formally about what happened in this game, and mainly what happened was that Kentucky turned the ball over. Very uncharacteristic. Kentucky's one of the best teams in the country at ball security. They don't turn it over a lot, and they don't hurt themselves with turnovers, and that wasn't the case today. There are some things going on with this team that we're not sure about. Andrew Carr did not play in this game. He's listed as injured after a week off. That's a red flag, and we don't really know what's going to happen. And Mark Pope didn't have a whole lot of detail on it after the game. Here's what he said about Andrew Carr.
So it's, I probably have done a bad job with Drew. He wants to play so bad, and we were just kind of seeing a decline in his performance because there's just so much he can't do with his back. And so we were trending the wrong direction, and so what we're hoping, it's like injuries are hard. Like these calls are really hard, and so what we're hoping is that we can get to a space sometime in the next few weeks, the next few days, somewhere where we have enough confidence that that him, he hasn't practiced in a couple weeks, and every game it's kind of like he just gets beat up so bad it's back to square one where it's hard for him to walk essentially, and so we're hoping that with more time we can get him to some sustainable place where he can endure a practice and endure a game and not be back to zero. But we'll see if that actually happens.
Equally mysterious is what's going on with Lamont Butler. He did not have a good game. 6 points, 6 turnovers in this game. Your point guard turns the ball over 6 times. That's not good. Kentucky had a 7-point lead with about 8.5 minutes left to play in this game and couldn't close the deal. And part of the reason it couldn't was that it just didn't get good enough play from the guard spot. That's when your guards usually take over, start to dictate the game, start to exert their will on the other team. Instead, Vanderbilt's guards got really aggressive, came up with some big turnovers, picked Butler's pocket. Another one he tried to force into a high post when it just wasn't there. So it wasn't a good day for him. And again, Pope was less than specific about what's going on with Butler, but did said he's struggling through some things. All I can do is play for you that sound.
About Lamont, is it a matter of injury? Kind of struggled there tonight at the end, 6 turnovers tonight, or was it just the pace of the game?
Yeah, I mean Lamont is he's got a lot right now. We all know what a warrior he is, he is giving us everything he's got right now. It's hard for him.
I thought there were some good signs in this game. I thought Trent Noah came off the bench and played pretty well, so that was a good thing. He came in and contributed. Kentucky hit big threes. They responded when they got behind. It was a little bit of a fiasco the last 10 minutes of the first half for Kentucky, but they started the game all right. They really bounced back in that first part of the second half well, played well enough to go from a 13-point deficit to a 7-point lead. That's pretty good. They just couldn't finish it off. You wonder if fatigue is part of it. Mark Pope mentioned that they're limited in their bench, but now injuries are where things are at this point in the year. You got to figure out how to handle those, and that's something Kentucky's going to have to do. The problem with it, if you're Mark Pope in Kentucky, is that it's one thing to say, well, we got to figure out and come up with some answers. It's another thing to have to do that in the Southeastern Conference because they just finished playing Alabama. It's really good. They just finished playing a Vanderbilt team that's better than anybody realizes. Now what happens? They stay on the road, and Tuesday night they go to Tennessee, who's ranked number 6 in the country, and there's blood in the water if you're Kentucky. And every game is like this, and every team, I think, is going to go through a lull, and we're now in Kentucky's period of the lull. And the question is, what are they able to learn from it? How are they able to adapt to it? What kind of answers can Mark Pope come up with? Those are all going to be big issues for Kentucky going forward. I don't think they're going to be a team that turns the ball over 17 times in every game they play from here on. I think that was an anomaly. What wasn't is some of the fatigue issues and some of the, just handling physical play. Here's one more observation on this game, and then I'll let this thing wrap up. I thought officials must have gotten a memo to say, hey, these games are taking too long, stop calling fouls. This was an extremely physical game, more physical than most. the difference is that they weren't blowing the whistle. There just weren't a lot of fouls called. They called 4 total fouls in the first half against 2 teams that were just going at each other defensively. So something may have changed in the way the SEC is going to officiate itself. We may be looking at the old Big East moving forward without some of the whistles. Whatever the case, a loss for Kentucky here in Nashville. They go home with a 2-game losing streak. They'll look to try and avoid making it 3. That's all you can do. The balloon deflates. You got to try and reinflate it. They'll try to do that in a tough place in Knoxville Tuesday night. From Nashville and Memorial Coliseum at Vanderbilt tonight, we're at Crawford, WDRB Sports.